Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour à tous, bienvenue ici donc, au ministère de l'Agriculture.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Bonjour, nous sommes ravis et nous vous remercions de nous accueillir ici aujourd'hui pour la conférence de presse qui va présenter la 31e édition du sommet de l'élevage du 4 au 7 octobre. Et puis,
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here at the Ministry of Agriculture. I'm delighted to welcome you here to the Ministry of Agriculture. Thank you very much for coming. And we now have 4 months before we talk about the Sommet de l'Élevage. I can only just say welcome here to the Ministry of Agriculture.
Le travail que nous avons à faire sur ces sujets-là avec des tas d'enjeux, mais que je ne vais pas décliner là, mais on aura l'occasion d'en parler dans les semaines.
We're going to talk in the next few months, next few weeks, about the hot topics in agriculture and talking about the French style, the French model of farming.
Il faut que nous essayions de travailler sur ces sujets avec sérieux et pragmatisme.
So we obviously want to be pragmatic about this and how we look forward and take things further forward. Obviously, it's an important element we need to discuss about. And we will talk about this at the Clermont, if not before. So I just wish to welcome everybody here and obviously talk about the show that is world recognized. And obviously here, Mongolia is our invited guest. So just to remind you, I was 18 months chairman of the group in the parliament with links to Mongolia. So I wish you all have a very good prosperous. So thank you very much. The French Minister of Agriculture, recently appointed as Minister of Agriculture here in France. So thank you very much. So thank you very much for that. So now we're going to talk about the summit. So we have today with us the Mongolian ambassador to France, Nyamkhuu ULAMBAYAR. So welcome, thank you. We are honored by the fact that you are here, and also Jacques Chazalet, who is, as you know, president of the Sommet de L'ELEVAGE. We also have Bruno DUFAYET, president of APRAMAC. We obviously have Fabrice Berthon, who is the show's general manager. So we're fast approaching the 31st edition of the Sommet de L'Élevage. So today we want to talk about the program of this show that will be run from the 4th to 7th of October in the Grand Hall d'Auvergne in Clermont-Ferrand. So this 31st edition that allows the summit to pierce its 4th decade, and that it identifies it as a world leader in terms of sustainable livestock production at a time when the transfer of farms to new entrants is another subject that is of significant interest to us all. We can perhaps say that it's a summit that we never reach, as each year we seem to go higher and higher. It gets bigger, more innovative, friendlier, and with more exhibitors and visitors than ever. Let's talk a little about this morning's program. So in a few moments, we will start with a word of welcome from Jacques Chazalet, show president, and our guest of honor, Nyamkhuu ULAMBAYAR. There will also be 5 other speakers who will present the 2022 version of the Sommet. We're talking about sustainable farming, farm transfers, and an introduction to this year's show. There'll be a word on where we are with the marketing of stand space, and then we'll focus on the Charolais breed that holds its national championships here at the show. The foreign interest in the show, a little on Mongolia, and then we will finish with a few words on global cattle markets. There will be 2 moments in the program for questions that will take us to 12 o'clock, when we will conclude with the press conference with a buffet lunch. So, well, there are other countries as well connected online, watching this press conference. So, Jacques, so last year, 30 years of the Sommet de l'Élevage. We seem to be in a new era. So, what can you tell us about this 31st edition? First of all, thank you and welcome. Thank you for coming here, and also those who are online. Perhaps there are more people online than we actually have here in the Salle Sully, here at the Ministry of Agriculture. Thank you, the Ambassador of Mongolia to France, the Minister of Agriculture who welcomed us here. The theme that we want to develop this year is the question of new entrants coming into farming, sustainable farming, and obviously we want to talk about Mongolia. I'd just like to start by thanking everybody who works to putting the summit together and makes it such a great show. And notably this year we have the Charolais breed, and we have Sébastien CLUZEL, who is chairman of the herd book Charolais, here present today. And the livestock also makes the show such a rich event, such an attractive event. So thank you. Thank you, Jacques. So, Madame Nyamkhuu ULAMBAYAR, Ambassador to France. You are also the permanent representative of your country to UNESCO. Ladies and gentlemen, dear ambassadors, President Chazalet, thank you very much for welcoming us in this fabulous Ministry of Agriculture and this wonderful salle where we are here today.
Au nom du ministre de l'Agriculture et de l'Alimentation et de l'Industrie légère de Mongolie, je remercie.
So, on behalf of the Mongolian Ministry of Agriculture, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank the organizer of the show to give us this opportunity to talk about our country.
La Mongolie a une longue tradition de pastoralisme.
Mongolia is a traditional grazing culture for its livestock.
Nous sommes un pays agriculture.
We are an agricultural-based country.
Très bonne coopération dans ce domaine.
Similar to France, and we have a strong cooperation between our two countries.
En place depuis des années les politiques publiques pour promouvoir notre ressource.
We are trying to promote our resources, and we've been obviously in discussion with France for many years, and hoping to build on the links that we've already established to develop our relationship even further. And we're looking for partners who we can work with in France and elsewhere in the livestock sector. We are looking to improve our production, our capacity, and our quality of our livestock. And once again, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity for the Sommet de l'Élevage. And I will talk a little bit about my country a little bit later this morning. And obviously, thank you for being so numerous this morning. Thank you very much, Madame the Ambassador.
Bruno DUFAYET, vous avez un micro, c'est pas.
Bruno DUFAYET,
Vous êtes président de l'APRAMAC.
You are president of APRAMAC for the promotion of agriculture in the Massif Central. So we're going to talk about the Sommet de l'Élevage, which has an ambition to become the global forum for sustainable livestock farming over the next decade. Good morning, Madam Ambassador. So sustainability, we've talked about, we've spoken about, we've written a lot about. This is important in today's world. It's a sense of history, making history on the European scale and also on the world scale. We talk about the self-sufficiency for food and forage for our livestock. And this is obviously compatible with the current era. But obviously, we want to promote this sustainability and talk about the French system of farming, pastoral farming. And in 2023, obviously the Green Deal, the European Green Deal that kicks in, we need to talk about that. And also the challenges facing pastoral and grazing. And 2026 will be the year of grazing and pasture land. So the idea is to integrate this as a long-term basis, on a long-term basis. And the President of the French Republic obviously has spoken about this on a regular basis, and this is something that is fundamental for us and for livestock and for grazing in France and obviously in the Massif Central that I represent. A sustainable livestock farm in France is able to provide balance to do with the size of the herd, the size of the flock, the farmer, their family, any employees they have on their farm. This is something that we have, this idea of an individual or family-sized farm. It's not necessarily the best resistant to any economic challenges, but it is a system of farming that reflects sustainability, that is well balanced and provides opportunity and looks after the countryside. So we're talking about the Green Deal. We're looking to make the Sommet, the farming trade show, farming industry show, the single sustainable livestock farming show within the world. Thank you very much for that, Bruno DeFayet. So we're talking about sustainability. So Jacques, now we're going to talk about another theme, obviously a central theme to this year's show, new farm entrants coming into the industry and transfer of farms to the next generation. Yes, we've spoken about sustainability, and obviously it is a major challenge to us, is the renewal of generations, farming generations. It is not just a national concern, it's also a European concern. It's something that we need to be fully aware of and address. At the Sommet, we are concerned. We are not an actor, but we wish to highlight and bring to people's attention this situation and the challenge for the oncoming years. So it will be a forum of setting up new farmers. But obviously the Sommet is a showcase for the future of farming and the future of livestock farming. But we have noticed that there are a lot of younger generation who come to the show, who are interested, who are there interested in the judging. And it proves to us that there are the next younger generation who are interested in farming and wish to set up as farmers. So we've put in place a few elements that underpin that. We have obviously exhibitors who are concerned with and who look after young farmers coming into the business.
Donc on est tous témoins des échanges qui ont lieu au sommet.
Obviously at the summit as well, there are opportunities to exchange, to discuss and to talk. Farmers who are actually looking for replacements. And it's obviously a concern to us because 1 in 3 farmers do not have someone in France, do not have someone identified to replace them. So the sommet, just to remind you, is unique in the world for the presentation of the livestock on show, the quality and also the quantity. And so for the young farmers or future young farmers, it is our engagement to accompany younger farmers whilst they establish on new farms, help them on their way, on their route to becoming farmers. So for us, this year's show is very important because it is a major challenge to us, not just in 2022, but for the next decade, maybe even longer, the replacement of the older generation of farmers by a new generation. And also the summit, I just remind you, is also the friendly atmosphere that is prevalent here every year at the show, and an opportunity for young farmers to meet and discuss with the older generation. And for us, it's, as we know, the farmers are passionate about their work, passionate about their job, and it's the opportunity for people to meet and to discuss. We also have agreements with organizations that work with the Ministry of Agriculture that look to help young farmers set up on farms here in France. So we want to highlight this year, and this is something we wanted to do for some time. And this year, it's the year we've decided to really put it under the spotlight. So this year's show will be sowing a few new seeds. So Fabrice Berthon, you are the show's general manager. So 1,400 exhibitors already booked with their stands.
Un point sur la commercialisation. Alors on est à 4 mois du sommet, bien évidemment.
We're now 4 months away from the show.
Ensuite, peut-être nous dévoiler ses points forts.
So, can you tell us a little bit about this year's show, the main points?
Notamment cette notion de convivialité.
So, we're talking about the friendly atmosphere that reigns at Clermont-Ferrand during the 4 days of the show in early October. So, yeah, we have Victor Berthon, the multimedia manager, said that the program was basically a dense program during the day, and in the evening, an occasion to meet, to discuss, and to be positive about and talk about the future of farming. So we have 1,400 exhibitors. We are looking to have 1,500 exhibitors, and we currently have 277 foreign exhibitors, which is excellent, coming from 32 different countries. So last year obviously was a concern because of the COVID, but this year we are expecting a pickup of the number of not just visitors but also exhibitors this year. So we are expecting a lot of interest over the next few weeks and months. The stand bookings are shaping up exceptionally well, and as I said, we are looking to hit our objective of 1,500 exhibitors. We are very hopeful. we're very hopeful we'll hit that target.
On peut parler alors les nouveautés.
We can also talk about the novelties of this year's show.
Comme je vous ai dit on s'agrandit.
We're getting bigger.
Dans le domaine de la transition énergétique.
So as far as energy transfer, we're getting bigger.
Du nombre d'exposants.
The number of exhibitors in the domain of energy transfer, there are far more exhibitors this year than ever before.
C'est un secteur un peu spécifique.
Also, the Hall 3 has got bigger. There'll be an extra ring for showing of cattle. There will also be a larger external area, show area.
Donc on a dû réaménager encore le site. Donc
so we've improved the site to make it more friendlier, more accessible for visitors, and with more access for people to visit the show and visit all the alleys of the show. So we now have an extra ring for cattle. We've added another 10,000 square meters
au niveau des infrastructures pour pouvoir absorber cet agrandissement.
Donc
dans les nouveautés, il a été dit,
external areas.
Bien sûr honoré et ravi de recevoir la Mongolie.
We are delighted, obviously, to welcome as the guest of honor this year the Mongolia.
Prend le sommet de devenir un rendez-vous majeur au niveau mondial sur le développement durable et le modèle d'exploitation que le sommet de l'élevage porte.
The model of farming that the Sommet represents is very similar to that in Mongolia, based on pasture, based on grazing, based on forage conservation. So the chairman also of the show also said that it's also a business forum where a vast number of deals and contracts are signed. We're looking to develop that. Develop within the friendly atmosphere of the show, the opportunity for people to conclude deals or to meet and perhaps to put in place the first foundations of future contracts. Talking about the judging, we have an European breeding, European Championship. We have the Simmental. We also have the Charolais this year holding its national championships, and the Hereford holds its European Congress here at the show.
Donne une dimension européenne, veut avoir une dimension européenne au sommet de l'élevage. Bon, je vois qu'est projeté une slide, donc vous voyez, je vais pas
faire. I'm not going to talk about readers again, but just the number of livestock present, with over 60 breeds present at the show.
De races animales, 65 races.
65 breeds. It's a real showcase of French livestock production.
Donc ce qui fait son attractivité, notamment par rapport aux près de 10 000 visiteurs étrangers que nous accueillerons cette année, qui proviendront en principe de plus de 80 pays.
So we're expecting 10,000 foreign visitors this year.
Les 100 conférences, donc vous aurez dans le dossier de presse tout le détail.
It's a packed program with 100 conferences and symposiums already organized, covering all the hot farming topics. Obviously, sustainability will be a key point in those conferences. Also, energy transfer, as I've already mentioned, and various conferences handling this subject. With 20 conferences alone on energy transfer. So obviously introducing farmers who are perhaps interested by these new forms of energy production.
Va concerner près de 80, je pense, sociétés qui ont présenté
if I remember rightly, there are 80 firms who are involved in energy transfer, and they will be exhibiting at the show.
Présenté pour la première fois donc au sommet de l'élevage. Voilà, et après tout un tas d'animations.
And then obviously various other events, as you find every year, the innovation competition, the Sommet d'Or. the specific program for international visitors and other events. My Sommet is the Sommet's own application, providing numerous services for both exhibitors and visitors, including over 20 functions, including an interactive show plan, the marketplace that highlights all of the exhibitors' products and services available at the show, and also a function that highlights various visitors' investment projects.
À relationner, j'allais dire, dans la communauté, la grande communauté Sommet de l'Élevage, en dehors des 4 jours du sommet.
So not just the 4 days of the show, but we are looking to make this a 365-day opportunity for people to be able to interact with each other. There's the dedicated digital area at the show. We're expecting influencers. So obviously, there's the 4 days of the show, but beyond that, there's the whole year when visitors or past or potentially future visitors can get in touch with past exhibitors. So, Sébastien CLUZEL, I would like to talk to you now. You are president of the herd book Charolais. So, the Charolais is the first #1 breed of cattle in France and in Europe. So, what makes the Charolais such an interesting and an attractive breed? So first of all, thank you very much. So first of all, I'm absolutely delighted to be here because I actually my farm is actually in the Puy-de-Dôme, in the department where the Sommet de l'Élevage is held, the main town of which, as you know, is Clermont-Ferrand. So it's an enormous pleasure for me, a great pleasure for me to be here. So just a few words. 1,200 farmer members of the herd book Charolais. We're now going to have a little bit later a bit of video highlighting the advantages of the breed. And obviously we subscribe to the theme, the central theme of this year, the sustainability of livestock farming. Obviously in partnership with the Sommet, I'd like you to watch a very short film about the Charolais breed. And maybe we might even see a few Charolais out in Mongolia very soon.
La Charolaise est la première race.
The Charolais is the first #1 breed of beef breed in France. There are 1.3 million in France, and we find them throughout the country. The breed is present in 80 countries throughout the world. And this is explained by the fact it can adapt exceptionally well to any environment, the fact that the animal is docile and easy to rear, and it's perfect for being run in big herds. It adapts very easily to all climates and can be managed in big herds, and it's an easy herd to rear, an easy animal to rear, and it's a very docile animal. So it can adapt to all types of farming systems to apply to the market, either as top quality, premium quality meat, or for various other segments of the market. And also the breed is desired for for breeding purposes, the fact that growth rates, and the Charolais is also 1 calf per cow per year. It's also a good milky animal. The cow has got sufficient milk to rear its calf. Great growth rates that you find throughout the breed. And this allows us to reduce the amount of food bought in and to be able to optimize the forage available. Because the Charolais can transform grassland into meat remarkably efficiently. So it's the first grassland breed found in France, occupying all the big, wide pasture lands
de son alimentation. Race bouchère par excellence.
It is a breed that is appreciated by the butchers.
La charolaise, c'est la race idéale.
So the Charolais, the perfect breed.
Oui, donc voilà cette petite vidéo qui résume parfaitement, je pense que.
So just a short film that summarizes remarkably well what the Charolais is about. So I've got a few slides that are now going to appear. So the Charolais on an international prospect, as we can see, in over 80 countries. It can be adapted to all climates. It can be run as a purebred or as a commercial herd for crossing with local breeds.
Des bœufs de trait. Depuis lors, la Charolaise a fait un travail phénoménal pour s'adapter à la situation et le fera encore.
It's an animal that can be also used for exporting, and be used as stores or produced as a finished animal. So as we saw in the film, it can adapt to all types of farming systems and all types of environments. Found in every type of climate, from the coldest to the hottest. As said earlier, run as a purebred or commercial crossed herd, used for finishing or sold for stores for finishing elsewhere. The Charolais is a high degree of genetic diversity, which explains its adaptability. The highest potential growth rates we can find, a feed efficiency that allows it to optimize grassland and the forage available. The Charolais cow is an efficient cow from both an economic and environmental angle. So we're looking to improve even more the rustic qualities of the breed. So the farm must adapt to its environment, and with it the livestock. Also, not just within the parameters of farm transfer and in encouraging new entrants into farming, we now have introduced an easier calving and welfare element into the Charolais breed, and what we're looking to encourage from our breeding policy. This new easy calving section category has been added to the breed's adult cattle championships. Farmers' welfare today and tomorrow's challenge is important for us to respond to. Farmers do not want to be tied indefinitely to the livestock. They want to have a social life. They want to be don't want to be tied to their cows all day. So they want to be able to enable the cow to look after herself and her calf. And this is obviously something that we are looking to improve year on year with our breeding policy. As you can see from the photograph, the cow is able to optimize all of the forage that we can produce on the farm. So, as far as the summit is concerned this year, so for us, as well as our championships, we're obviously looking to put the highlight on new farmers coming into the industry, and obviously, and especially for us, looking to farm the Charolais breed. So animals that are easy to rear, easy to look after, and at the Sommet on the Thursday evening, there will be an opportunity to purchase some of our young stock. So we're now talking about our championships, to be national championships held at the show. So it's the fourth time that we've held our national championships at the show. So as Jacques said, in the Zenith concert hall, it's the most wonderful stage to hold our championships. So 4 half days of judging, 400 animals with representing 150 farms. And the Thursday afternoon will be the highlight.
Voilà, j'en ai fini de ma présentation.
So thank you very much. That's my part of the presentation of the Charolais breed is concerned. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sébastien, for your introduction. So all the elements you will find in the press pack. So we now welcome Benoît Delelaloi, who is the show's international manager. So this year, Benoît, a lot more, we're expecting a lot more visitors and exhibitors from outside France. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Que l'on peut noter, qui viennent des quatre coins du monde, plus d'une trentaine de pays, je pense que
from over 30 countries, exhibitors from over 30 countries. So thank you very much for letting me come and talk about the foreign element to the summit. So yes, we're picking up again following COVID in the last 2 years. Difficult last year, even though we did have a large, mainly European presence of foreign visitors.
Et là déjà, donc c'est nettement plus que l'année dernière et on s'approche même
this year we're now even more so, even more bigger than last year, and we are getting to our record of 2019 with the number of visitors, foreign visitors, coming to the show. So we have not just the European visitor, we also have people coming from further afield, from China, from Sudan, where we have foreign delegations. Mongolia, obviously this year. Georgia, which will be the country, the invited guest of honor for next year. From Africa, South Africa, from Brazil, from Poland, Slovakia.
Et les opportunités pour nos entreprises françaises. Il y aura bien sûr des délégations officielles. On attend.
There will be official delegations, of course, as well.
Mongolia qui nous a déjà fait part de sa venue cette année. On organisera bien entendu des visites d'élevage pour eux, des rendez-vous d'affaires, etc.
Obviously, it's as you know, it's SOMMET is a forum for business, for promoting business between our farmers, our exhibitors at the show and beyond, and foreign visitors to the show, foreign companies, foreign firms. So obviously the COVID situation is far better than it was the last year, and obviously 2020 we won't talk about because it was a blank year. So next year Georgia will be next year's guest of honor.
Des groupes également d'Afrique du Sud, Brésil, Pologne, Slovaquie, Côte d'Ivoire, voilà, qui nous ont annoncé leur venue. Alors, on s'appuie pour faire la promotion du sommet donc sur un vaste réseau d'agents privés, mais également sur des agents.
So we use various agencies, private businesses, private firms that allow us to promote the sommet in other countries, and have. From an export point of view, they have selected 40 foreign buyers, invited them specifically to the show. These foreign buyers from 17 different countries, and they've been selected because of their investment projects. So obviously the Charolais is of significant interest because, as Sébastien has already mentioned, the Charolais is an international breed, and because of that we're expecting a large number of foreign visitors specifically coming to see the breed's national championships and to discuss with farmers in the cattle lines. And obviously it might be an opportunity for foreign visitors who have never been to our show to learn about the show and perhaps to come again in future years. Obviously other events happening within the framework of the summit and outside, such as the Hereford Conference, will attract more visitors to the show. Now moving on to the fact that it's now a business forum, an international business forum with our international lounge that provides a VIP welcome for foreign visitors. 800 square meters in the main foyer of the Zénith d'Auvergne concert hall that has been specifically set aside for our foreign visitors. There are numerous services provided, interpreters, guided visits to the show. We can organize business meetings with exhibitors. There's a meeting room, there's catering, shuttle buses to the train station, to the airport, and to hotels. And obviously, the real added value of the show, as you know, is this program of 30 farm visits, on-site visits, farm and agri-industrial on-site visits, that every morning and every afternoon visitors can get into a bus and go and visit farms locally, talk to the farmer, appreciate the cattle and the other livestock, the sheep, the horses. So in 2019, over 1,000 people benefited from these this program of visits. And also, hopefully, they will appreciate the wonderful countryside of the Auvergne region. And there will be an international gala in partnership with France Génétique and Business Élevage. That will happen on a Wednesday evening in the Zenith, where we'll be introducing all of the breeds present at the show with an English translation, followed by a buffet dinner, because, as has already been mentioned before, the Sommet de l'Élevage is that friendly atmosphere that we're looking to foster. So I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the various ambassadors here present and their representatives here present here at this conference, to thank you very much. We're able to provide for you an information pack on French livestock and the farms that you can visit. So if you make your way to the International Lounge, we will be able to provide you with all the information you require about the farms that can be visited during the show. We look forward to seeing you in that first week of October. So, yes, obviously not just here present here at this conference, but also people online watching from further afield with an English translation. So we're now going to throw the debate open to the floor with a few questions. So please, this first session of questions, there will be another one later on, but this is the first one. So if you have any questions at this point, please feel free to ask your questions, or if you're further afield, use the chat toggle to send your questions in. Are there any questions here on the floor?
Allez, on va peut-être commencer par celle qui s'indique à l'écran. Alors, je crois, Benoît, qu'elle est à votre attention, celle-ci.
One for Benoît. So, Benoît, can you tell us what does it mean, the invited guest of honor to this show? Well, guest of honor, it's a country that has a tradition of livestock farming. Grassland, primarily. And it obviously reflects the pasture and the grassland found in the Massif Central. And obviously why Mongolia this year was, for us, an obvious choice. And obviously we look to identify countries that wish to work with France and perhaps looking to improve their livestock, their genetics, perhaps looking for a bit of French genetics to import into their own country. So I open the opportunity to other countries, if they so wish, to manifest themselves as future guests of honor, to please let me know.
Puisque c'est de savoir quel sera le pays invité en 2023.
So 2023, we have already decided who's going to be the guest of honor next year.
Bon, normalement en 2023,
so 2023,
ça devrait être la Géorgie.
It should be Georgia that will be is looking to develop its livestock
dans ce pays dans lequel
with cattle and sheep. We're obviously partners with the Georgian Ministry of Agriculture through our own partners.
Ça devrait se concrétiser.
So we're expecting this to be confirmed. So a little scoop, 2023 will be Georgia.
Alors, y a-t-il entre-temps des questions peut-être?
Any other questions from the floor?
La présentation a été très explicite sur notre programme.
So,
Monsieur, alors,
Fabrice, we have a. So, if I can just ask you to stand up just for the camera, and we'll give you a microphone.
Oui, bonjour.
Yes.
Benoît pour le magazine Grand Troupeau.
I represent the magazine Big Herds.
En France, c'est pas la race charolaise qui progresse depuis une décennie. Il y a d'autres races qui vont plus vite. Qu'est-ce qui explique selon vous ce différentiel?
So it's not necessarily the Charolais that's we don't see the Charolais that's its numbers are getting bigger every year. It's other breeds are getting bigger. How can you explain that?
Qui ont progressé énormément et le sommet de l'élevage leur a rendu
So
service.
yes, other breeds obviously have their numbers have grown, but that doesn't mean that because other breeds have increased their numbers, their herd numbers in France. But it's not to say that the Charolais hasn't increased as well. I'd just like to say, quite simply, that as organizer of the show, that the Zenith, the national championships, there is such a demand from the farmers to organize their national championships in the Zenith d'Auvergne, that obviously we have to reply. And as we've been spoken about earlier, we've had to add a second ring for the presentation of other livestock, because the Zenith d'Auvergne main ring is perhaps we not even have enough space. We don't have enough time to show all the livestock that we want. So markets are very different for different breeds. And the conditions obviously are very different, and other breeds are perhaps more associated with their own local territory. So I'm not going to talk about increasing cattle numbers.
Tous les mêmes, quelle que soit la race. On n'est pas dans une tendance très haussière. Vous l'avez dit, la charolaise non plus, bien entendu, je le reconnais.
As you said, we are the #1 breed. In France. Okay, our numbers haven't perhaps progressed as fast as other breeds have, but don't forget that other breeds are coming from a very low base. We historically have had a very strong base in France. 1.3 million cows, that's not negligible. So, even though we might not be increasing numbers year on year as other breeds have been able to do, but
Et à nous tous, éleveurs de bovins allaitants, de prendre en compte ces enjeux.
We obviously need to face up to the challenges that now
de renouveler nos générations d'éleveurs, ce qui n'est pas gagné.
Face us for the next decade or even further out.
Petit détail sur
small detail.
Des animaux. Nous sommes quand même beaucoup implantés sur des zones plutôt céréalières.
We are very much found in arable areas.
Ces dernières années, bien entendu. Aujourd'hui, quand on fait le comparatif,
so it's not necessarily the areas where the Charolais is going to be increasing numbers more. Other breeds are found in more grassland-only permanent pasture zones, regions, and there are not the constraints found with the arable production. A farmer cannot be expected to be harvesting and sowing and spraying the arable, and also looking after their herd.
Merci de ce clin d'œil. Et puis une question quand même que j'ai vu glisser au passage, cette magnifique vache qui est sur l'affiche.
So yeah, the cow on the main show. Can you tell us about that cow?
Yes. Elle s'appelle Martinique.
Yes, she's called Martinique.
Donc il nous vient du grec Lamandrio dans l'Allier, non loin du sommet non plus. Nous l'espérons. Après, il y a tout un tas.
It comes from a farm in the Allier.
Il va y avoir des impondérables, hein, notamment le fait que Martinique et son petit veau avec elle.
So Martinique and her calf.
Je pense que c'est le cas aujourd'hui. Elle a un petit veau. Il y a de la préparation, il y a des enjeux.
So that's the future. The farmer, his son, and Martinique their cow and her calf with her.
Monsieur, nous allons vous apporter un micro, madame, je vous ai vu également.
So there's a question here on the floor.
On vous laisse vous lever, monsieur, s'il vous plaît.
Please stand up. Thank you very much. Hello. I am the economic advisor for the Guinean embassy here in France. I'd like to congratulate you for the presentations. I've noted that the Charolais is present in 80 countries, one of which is the Guinea, a country associated with grassland production. So I would like to talk to you about looking to increase our numbers, Charolais numbers in our country. I'm looking forward and ready to meet exhibitors, your breed's exhibitors at the show. So thank you very much.
Oui, mais je pense que c'est tout naturel de par Benoît et autres structures qu'on peut se rencontrer.
So I think obviously this is important, and so through the international service here at the Sommet de L'Élevage, it's important that we're able to discuss and meet and foster relations between our breeders and your country. So the African farmers are looking to increase their cattle breeds, and obviously Charolais is high on their list of priorities.
Voilà, donc le rendez-vous est pris.
So we're expecting you to meet up at the show. So a question from this lady. This lady is from Agence France Presse.
Est-ce que vous pourriez expliquer pourquoi ça l'est cette année et quel est le paysage dans les exploitations en France?
Alors, pourquoi ça l'est cette année? C'est parce que c'est devenu quand même une préoccupation nationale. Et je pense que vous avez écouté au salon de l'agriculture.
Issue about new entrants coming into farming, new generations.
Sa stratégie au niveau agricole et notamment sur le fait que
you've obviously heard the President of the French Republic talk about his agricultural policy, what he's looking to implement. So for us, the summit is obvious. It's the sustainability for us. We're looking to improve that. We're looking to become, as has already been said, the global forum for sustainable livestock production. So when you compare livestock production with cereal production, you obviously see that we need the farmer, we need the actual individual to be there, present on their farm. And it's important. You can't have a livestock herd or flock without a farmer on site. They need to be there. They need to be with their animals on a daily basis. So. So we have the general manager here from the Salon d'Agriculture that's held in Paris in March every year. So he's here present at this press conference. But I'd just like to say that all these young farmers, potential young farmers that are looking to set up, but there's so many challenges, the economic challenges, technological challenges. But for us, it's that atmosphere, that ambiance that we find at the Sommet, this friendly ambiance, friendly environment. I'd just like to talk about ruminants. So we have 50% of ruminant farmers who are going to retire in the next decade. It is a major, major challenge, and this is something we need to address. And we're looking to renew the farming generation if we wish to continue to have meat on our plates. So the figures are there, they stack it up. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes, lady standing up.
Est-ce que vous avez
journalist from Context.
la façon dont le salon va s'articuler avec l'actualité politique.
So can you tell us how the sommet is going to develop from a political angle? This is obviously something that obviously we reply every year.
Au début du renouvellement d'une mandature.
So this year we've just had a new election, a recent election, presidential election here in France. President Macron was re-elected as president of France. So in 2021 we had a significant number of presidential candidates who visited the show. And now those who have been elected, we're expecting a visit from them, as you already heard and saw. The first person who spoke this morning was the French Minister of Agriculture. So President Macron promised to come back in 2019, and we're expecting him to do so this year. We're expecting a large number of senators also to visit. Bruno is going to talk a little bit later about our lobbying strategy, or the lobbying strategy of the Massif Central promotion group.
Alors pour les précisions, Bruno, je veux bien que vous veniez vous asseoir. C'est pour les caméras en fait.
So just a few things. So we're just swapping over so that people on video conference. Bruno's now just come onto the stage. So I'd just like to. There's also the challenge, the political challenge. So the Green Deal, European Green Deal, we've spoken about before.
Un peu à l'instar de ce qui s'était fait l'an dernier sur le sujet de la réciprocité des normes.
So talking about standards, sustainability, and the fact of policy, national policy, looking to underpin the sustainability of farming here in France. Which, as you know, is obviously our model is based on a grassland system, especially in the Massif Central that I represent.
Un temps spécifique. Alors la date, le jour, je ne peux pas encore vous le dire puisque c'est en construction, mais il y aura un temps fort autour de ce sujet par rapport à aussi.
At the show, we will be promoting. My association that looks after and promotes grassland farming, livestock farming in the Massif Central.
La convivialité avec l'élevage.
So it's a place where the sommet is a place where farmers and others can talk, they can meet, get some new ideas, meet new entrants or perhaps potential future entrants, where they can meet buyers from other countries, etc. So perhaps one last question at this point, and then we're going to have more questions a little bit later.
Alors cette question, je crois, est adressée à Fabrice, de savoir si la pénurie de matières premières actuelle et le manque de disponibilité de matériel ne risquent-ils pas.
So the shortage of raw materials and straits materials and equipment, is that a problem?
Mais ceci ne veut pas dire que les constructeurs ne sont pas gênés par la situation.
The fact that we have so many exhibitors present at the show, that's not to say that they're not concerned by the fact that there is a shortage of raw materials and supply of raw materials and equipment. Obviously, they are struggling at the moment because they aren't able to provide their clients with their customers, their farmer customers, with the equipment that they require because of this shortage of machinery, shortage of material.
Oui, on sait que certaines machines agricoles, comme dans l'automobile, maintenant.
Because we've seen in certain areas of agricultural machinery, even though there are a shortage of various parts, etc., that's not to say that it's not important to meet new customers with a view to be able to supply them in due course
Mais les gens sont quand même présents au sommet.
It's important that they still important they come.
À Monsieur Fabrice, gardez le micro parce que la prochaine question
I'm now going to ask Fabrice
de savoir à l'heure où les évolutions défavorables du climat sont flagrantes.
So, as far as climate change,
envisager de compenser leurs émissions de carbone.
so climate change. So, we're talking about farmers reducing their carbon imprint.
Souvent, vous voyez, quand on aborde
footprint.
Ces problèmes-là, ça se traduit concrètement par des petits gestes, par des.
But this can be done by the small measures.
Construit une deuxième halle.
So,
Demandé, par exemple,
why is the Sommet de l'Élevage climate friendly?
Pourquoi mettre de la moquette pendant 4 jours pour la mettre à la poubelle?
So,
voilà.
We are just small measures, for example, the carpets that are used on the flooring. We find a second use for them.
Sur place, et nous le mettons à disposition des collectivités locales pour les parterres dans la ville. Voilà.
The waste and other the dustbins from the show are collected by horse-drawn vehicles. We are not going to. It's not us that alone are going to save the planet. There are others, far more important factors that are belching out carbon dioxide. So I'd just like to add the management of the whole.
Pour entretenir le parc. Donc c'est aussi la nécessité de l'économie circulaire.
The livestock also maintaining the grassland.
Moi j'ai un média qui s'appelle Du terre-terre au terroir. Nous, on fait de la vulgarisation sur le terroir, le monde agricole et la gastronomie, un public qui est vraiment éloigné de tout ça.
So,
on était venu
talk about gastronomy and livestock production.
Pour des publics qui sont pas du tout au fait d'un velage, de comment ça se passe.
So, how can you welcome people who are outside farming, outside livestock production to your show? What have you put in place to welcome and receive these people who come from a different outlooks?
Un peu plus en avant ça et de s'ouvrir un petit peu plus. Voilà. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Fabrice apportera les compléments techniques.
Thank you. Fabrice will add a few things. As far as our strategy is concerned, it's difficult for a show to attract every type of public. It's a trade show, obviously. But that's not to say that the show is not open to the general public. It is. The general public can come, and we welcome them with open arms.
Il y a une tradition avec notre nouvelle capitale régionale qui est Lyon sur la gastronomie. Donc voilà, il y a des choses à penser.
There are various things obviously we need to think about and put in place. So yes, we have improved our
comme le disait Jacques Chazalet, avant tout le sommet.
Our response to that. So, as Jacques said, the sommet basically enters into a format, a framework of a professional farming trade show.
Il a été bâti avant tout comme ça.
And that was how it was built. But I accept your remark, and I accept that as being an element of something we need to perhaps think about. So if I understood, obviously I understand that, yes, obviously it is perhaps of interest. So yeah, we are open to any ideas, suggestions that people want to put forward. Even though, and I might just want to repeat, the Sommet de l'Élevage was established as being a livestock trade show. So, talking about various breeds, Aubrac, Salers, Charolais, Limousin. So, yes, their farmers would be interested by the suggestion that you have of opening the show with a slightly larger reply to the gastronomic sector. I just want to add something.
Bruno me le suggérait en aparté. On a lancé un défi à la mairie de Clermont.
So at Clermont, we've asked the Mairie of Clermont, Town Hall of Clermont, to organize the meat festival. And we know how to organize it. So this is obviously we need a bit of help from the town of Clermont-Ferrand. But we have asked the town of Clermont to organize the meat festival held every year. And Clermont is a candidate for the European Capital of Culture, and we're looking to establish that within that framework, if possible. So, more information from the press conference. So, the second part of the so we're now the second part of the press conference. We're now going to ask Philippe CHOTTEAU to come and talk to us. Philippe is the chief economist at the Institut de L'ELEVAGE.
La parole tout d'abord à notre ambassadrice de Mongolie, Madame ULAMBAYAR, et vous laissez notamment, alors voilà, vous avez la télécommande. Alors nous sommes impatients bien évidemment de vous entendre.
And also we want to hear from our ambassador, Madame Nyamkhuu ULAMBAYAR.
Dans le développement de l'élevage dans votre immense et magnifique pays.
We want to hear about your country and your country's livestock production. What can you tell us? So I'll do my best. I'll do what I can to tell you about livestock in our country. So
c'est un sujet assez complexe de parler de l'agriculture et de l'élevage de la Mongolie, mais c'est tout à fait
perhaps a little bit complex, but I will do my best.
Objectif pour un élevage durable, dont je suis
obviously, as I said, we associate ourselves with the SOMMET's theme this year of and future theme of durability.
En France, en Europe, mais aussi dans le monde entier. Donc j'ai réparti ma présentation en 5 sujets.
So I've got 5 subjects I wish to talk about.
Pas beaucoup de personnes qui ont visité encore la Mongolie.
So, introducing Mongolia for those who don't know my country.
Conjoncture du secteur d'élevage.
Talking about the livestock sector. Talking about our policy, our goals, future trends.
Soutien du gouvernement dans le développement du secteur.
Economic support, government support.
Mentionner, souligner les opportunités.
And future investment opportunities in Mongolia.
Et étrangers peuvent avoir en Mongolie dans ce domaine d'élevage et par finir un court vidéo.
And there'll be a small short film that will illustrate livestock production in Mongolia. So, first of all, if I can talk about our economy. We have a population of 3.4 million with a very large land mass. 1.5 million kilometers squares. It's the world's 17th largest country in terms of land mass.
Sans accès à la mer entre la Russie et la Chine, entre les deux grandes puissances économiques. Et notre produit intérieur brut
GDP
l'an dernier a
last year was 13.7 billion US, with a growth of 5.1%.
5,1%, mais il faut noter aussi la pandémie COVID a beaucoup.
Note too that COVID had obviously a negative impact on our growth, as it happened as elsewhere.
Avec la Chine, dû à
and
la
obviously
baisse
impact with China,
des demandes mondiales
and obviously global demand obviously suffered, so had a negative impact on our GDP. But even so, we still were able to sign in with 5.1% of growth.
La moitié de la population a moins de.
So half of our population is under 27 years old. Means that we have a population who is young and motivated. So talking about new generations of farmers, obviously that's of interest.
Par rapport à hommes et femmes, vous voyez.
And as far as the male-female ratio in our country, 68% are men, 53% women. Our climate is obviously at high altitude. We're far away from the sea, with an extreme continental climate. We have very cold winters with temperature and with temperatures reaching -30 in winter and +40 in the summer, even though the summer is very short.
un des facteurs spécifiques de notre secteur élevage.
So obviously this has a big bearing on our livestock production and systems.
En Mongolie, et voilà, qui s'investissent, vous voyez, 70% des investissements
But 70% of foreign investment goes into the mining industry.
Minière. Voilà, donc avec le Canada, la Chine,
Canada, China, Holland, Luxembourg, Singapore, main investors. As far as our exports are concerned, so we trade with over 140 countries. So last year's exports amounted to 7.5 billion US. Our main clients are China, Singapore, EU, UK and Russia. And the main products are coal, raw or semi-processed gold, copper ore, iron ore concentrate, untreated cashmere and wool, and precious stones.
Dans notre composition des produits et à l'exportation, pour l'instant, c'est beaucoup de produits, matières premières.
So a lot of raw materials are the main export products.
Le gouvernement en souhaite pour que les matières premières d'origine animale de notre.
But our government is looking to promote livestock as one of those raw materials, as being one of those export products that we're looking to develop. As far as our imports are concerned, we are traditionally an importing country. We're looking to develop our exports, but traditionally we are an importing country, net importer. Last year, 2020, 5.2 billion US, trading with 72 different countries: China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, US, and Germany. So the products that we imported were mainly refined petroleum, diesel, vehicles, spare parts, processed foods, fruit and veg, chemical products, and finally steel.
De réduire le plus possible nos importations alimentaires.
But we're looking to reduce as much as possible our food imports, looking to develop our own and be self-sufficient from a food angle.
Quelle est notre autosuffisance domestique pour la production alimentaire? Je vous en parlerai. Voilà. Donc pour passer maintenant
agriculture in the economy.
Secteur d'agriculture plus particulièrement dans notre économie. Donc
agriculture's share in our economy. So farm products totaled 422 million out of the 7.5 billion US in exports.
Pour 7,5 milliards de dollars d'exportation, on a 422 millions.
And as far as imports were concerned, farm products that we imported represented 760 million US out of the 5.2 billion imported in total.
158 millions de dollars. Donc, toutes nos politiques publiques du gouvernement, c'est essayer de balancer.
Our government's policy is to try and balance that, so we are no longer a net importer from an agricultural products point of view. As far as, for example, the cashmere, meat, hides, skins. These are what we're looking to: milk, meat. So national production.
Nous donne ce chiffre, donc 24 milliers de tonnes de viande traitée.
So our national production this year is 24.6 million tons, 176 million litres of milk, 490,000 goat hides,
milliers de pièces de cuivre, Et cuir de mouton, c'est
137.6 thousand sheep hides,
104 milliers de pièces.
104 cow hides,
Production de laine lavée, c'est
1.5 million tons of washed wool.
De laine, voilà. Ensuite, pour cachemire.
And finally, 516 tons of combed cashmere.
Donc nous avons aujourd'hui 516 tonnes de production nationale. Donc, pour la production nationale,
the share of the economy,
il faut tenir compte de la spécificité du facteur.
We need to take into account the various constraints of the size of our country.
Parce que les productions de l'élevage fabriquées à 1000 km, plus de 1000 km de la capitale.
So livestock production is often over 1,000 kilometers away from our capital city. Obviously, it has a major impact on the logistics and the utilization of our production for our own requirements.
Usines, de notre parc industriel de transformation, c'est vraiment aussi un facteur.
It's a major factor that we have to take into account, obviously, from further processing of basic farm products.
De transformation, voilà, donc c'est aussi un travail, un champ assez grand pour.
This is something we're looking to improve, so to bring the processes closer to the farmers, if we possibly can. But as I said, with over 1,000 kilometers from the main livestock areas to the capital, it can be a bit difficult. So farming represents 13% of the total economy, providing 6% of the total GDP, employing 49.5% of the national workforce.
De l'agriculture est assez importante, presque la moitié, 49% de la main-d'œuvre.
Importantly, it's extraordinary the fact that our workforce, the national workforce, almost half of it is in agriculture. And 83% of our agriculture is in livestock production.
83% de la production de tout secteur agriculture qui porte industrie légère, alimentation, élevage.
So
83%.
So 83% agriculture and further processing.
De l'élevage.
Livestock represents in our national economy.
De notre secteur d'élevage dans l'agriculture. Voilà. Donc l'élevage apporte 6,1%.
Livestock represents 6.1% of our export income.
Et aujourd'hui, dans les zones rurales, 56% des foyers.
It represents 56% of our rural households.
Donc ça montre assez en termes de la politique sociale.
And obviously, the country's policy, social policy.
Une politique assez importante pour les éleveurs en termes de leur retraite.
So this is something that's important for farmers in terms of their pensions, their futures, their ability to save, their ability to live decently.
D'éleveurs, tout ça, donc c'est vraiment une question fondamentale dans notre politique.
It's obviously a fundamental question to our future policy, the welfare of our farmers. So, as far as livestock policy is concerned, looking forward further out to 2050, our long-term development policy, looking to diversify the economy,
donne toute une grande importance à l'amélioration de la qualité de l'élevage.
So we're looking to improve the quality of our livestock and obviously optimize the sale of those products issued from an improved genetic quality.
Au sein de notre politique Vision 2050, qui est une politique de développement
part of our Vision 2050 policy
par le Parlement en 2020, aussi
voted by the Parliament in 2020.
Plan d'action du gouvernement pour la période 2020-2024.
So included a government policy going forward to 2024.
Pour les 5 années à venir, aussi pour nos contributions.
And also, as far as growth prospects are concerned in Mongolia, our state food and agricultural policy from 2015 to 2025, and our own contributions to the Paris Agreement going forward to 2030. Looking to promote our livestock production to be more sustainable, better quality, and becoming more export-oriented.
Pour objectif d'améliorer la sécurité alimentaire,
so food safety, food security, looking new technologies and innovations are objectives we're looking to do. So we're wanting to shift from the quantity of livestock to the quality of output, to improve farmers' lives, their welfares, management and development of livestock production in line with the challenges of climate change, and looking to becoming 100% self-sufficiency in domestic consumption of the principal food products.
Ces documents et stratégies du pays. Donc, ces objectifs, on essaie d'obtenir 100% autofournissement de la consommation domestique
100% self-sufficiency
et principaux alimentaires.
Aujourd'hui,
on est à 63%.
We're currently 63% self-sufficient.
Par la production
so we have a long way to go, admittedly.
Pour les viandes et les, etc. Voilà. Ensuite, voilà. Donc, pour vous donner l'idée combien nous avons la population d'espèces
herd population by species.
Vous connaissez déjà que c'est un élevage dominant traditionnellement qui préserve
Mongolia is traditionally very much a pasture nomadic culture, representing 99% of livestock, this nomadic culture, where there's also a small intensive livestock production in more urban and agricultural areas, but that only represents 1% of our livestock.
Il faut dire jusqu'à 1990, le bétail appartenait à la collectivisation de l'État. Et depuis
Up until 1990, livestock belonged to the state. It's only since when that livestock have been allowed to be bought and owned and farmed by farmers.
Qui sont devenus propriétaires du cheptel. Et depuis le nombre de cheptels n'a cessé de
since
croître.
When the livestock numbers have increased significantly.
7 millions de têtes d'animaux pour 3,4 millions de
So the total headage is 67.3 million, which, as you can see from the slide, the main numbers are sheep, 31.1, goats, 26.5, producing mainly cashmere, sheep wool, 5 million head of cattle, 4.3 million head of horses, and 0.5 of a million camels.
26 millions de caprins, voilà, ce qui représente une part assez importante. Voilà, notre cheptel. Donc,
moving on to intensive livestock production. As I said, it represents only 1% of our total agricultural output, livestock numbers. We have a number of milk farms, beef farms, a number of cattle, a number of cows shown on this slide. So looking from the top line, looking from the left, number of milk farms 2025, number of cows almost 98,000, number of beef farms 594, number of beef cattle 28,000, number of sheep farms 3,045, accounting for 483,000 sheep, 6 goat farms accounting for 1.1 thousand head of goats. On the second line, number of poultry farms 1,391, accounting for 990,000 chickens, and 837 pig farms, representing 22,000 pigs, and finally bee honey farms, 608, covering 14,500 hives.
Tirer les avantages sur ces races afin d'améliorer la santé, la reproduction de notre cheptel mongol. Donc vous voyez sur ce département
Mongolia and the global agro industry and agro and food industries
et industrie alimentaire. La Mongolie est le premier exportateur.
It's the number one exporter of fine hair. $235 million.
Millions de dollars avant la Chine. Après, quatrième exportateur de laine en Asie.
Ahead of China, UK, and finally Iran.
Production de viande de cheval, la Mongolie
as far as horse meat production is concerned, Mongolia is the number 2 world producer behind Argentina, but ahead of Canada and Belgium.
Toutes ces capacités de production, nous avons aussi un défi dans notre capacité d'amélioration de notre
challenges for us as far as the capacity of our production is obviously to be able to process all of these raw farm products, taking them further. That is our shortfall at the moment, and limits our export opportunities.
Commencé à accroître en 2019, mais voilà, avec à partir de 2020 et 2021.
We were growing exports as from 2019, but because of COVID, obviously, that took a big hit.
Situation pandémique, voilà, donc je vais pas tarder.
I'm not going to talk much about that. Move on to the next slide.
D'arriver au terme de votre présentation.
Je vais passer juste très brièvement finir. Voilà, donc notre stratégie de la reproduction animale.
So our animal reproduction strategy for 2020-2030 is to protect Mongolian livestock genetics by reinforcing and improving its resilience, organizing breeding and selection work scientifically according to government policy, increasing farm productivity, and to support the development of the green economy.
Des Nations Unies pour le pastoralisme, donc la bonne gestion des pâturages.
Looking for an objective, the location of the breeding grounds in terms of livestock type and productivity has been identified. Selection efficiency, production planning, population change and herd turnover have been calculated for the next 10 years and due to be implemented in 2 stages.
Tout un champ de travail à continuer à faire pour faire mieux.
More work to be done, but we've started to set the stones of progress.
En termes d'enregistrement, de suivi.
So from this slide you can see government support. We are a highly connected country, as you can see, with integrated livestock system, with a database interconnectivity, linked to our exports, covering premiums for agricultural products, livestock registration programs, herd rotation programs, veterinary database, and a racehorse entry program for those who are interested. Horse racing is a major sport in Mongolia. As far as premiums are concerned, wool premiums, as you can see, been granted milk premiums, hide premiums and wheat premiums. Between 2020 and 2021, 200 million euro in premiums were granted to farmers. Reasons for investing in Mongolia: advantage non-discriminatory policy towards foreign investors, stability package for your business to thrive, tax exemption for the first 5 years for eligible companies in free economic zones, land use rights of up to 60 and maybe up to 100 years, and other benefits. More benefits for innovative startups, offering a sandpit approach, an environment for testing new business ideas without limits. If you wish more information, you visit the investmongolia.gov.mn website for an information pack that's in English. We have digital services on www.invest-assist.gov.mu, and we have an investor protection scheme. So, as far as Mongolia's farm potential is concerned, there's further development of intensive rearing, looking for further development of the food industry to cut dependency on imports, as I've mentioned, organic production of sea buckthorn and honey, foreign export markets, export commodities, development of renewable energy, and further development of vegetable and fruit production for home consumption. As I said, 67 million head of livestock, 1.3 million hectares of farmland, and 31% of GDP generated by the farming industry. So we're expecting our Minister of Agriculture and an official delegation accompanying him to the Sommet de l'Élevage in October. And we're expecting them to widen the current partnerships that we have and the links that we have established, the cooperation that we have established with the French government and with France's livestock farmers.
Monsieur Chazalet, qui présidera une délégation du conseil d'administration du sommet d'élevage la semaine prochaine.
So next week, the board of the Sommet d'Élevage will be visiting Mongolia to learn more about our country and our livestock production, and to visit, to meet, and to hear what our country is about. So a great opportunity for us to present our country to you. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Thank you.
Madame l'ambassadrice, pour la richesse
Thank you for that, for your very in-depth presentation. Very interesting. Thank you. So now, Philippe CHOTTEAU. So you are head economist at the Institut d'Élevage. You have a lot to say. We don't have a lot, unfortunately, time left. But can you just give us a snapshot as far as cattle and livestock markets? I will do my best.
Madame ULAMBAYAR, je vais vous
la télécommande.
La télécommande. Merci beaucoup. Je voulais d'abord vous dire que j'étais petit normand, alors il y a plus de 50 ans.
A long time ago,
rêvais de la Mongolie.
I was a little boy and I dreamt about Mongolia. Always a wish for me to go to Mongolia. So thank you very much for your presentation, your country. So I'm Philippe CHOTTEAU. I'm head economist at the Institut d'Élevage. We're now going to talk about world commodity and beef markets in a chaotic health, climate and geopolitical context. So beef market, mainly beef market.
Certes, tout le monde pense d'emblée à la guerre en Ukraine.
Everybody thinks automatically about Ukraine. But even though the war in Ukraine started on 24th of February, was not necessarily such an important factor as that. There have been many other influencing factors within the last year. We often think of the war in Ukraine as being an important factor on the current context. So here we have a slide on input prices in France, in Pampa beef in April 2022. So shows
on a pris quand même pratiquement 22% en 12 mois, en un an.
We have increased by 22% in 12 months in France, as far as prices are concerned.
En tout cas, parce qu'on a des systèmes finalement très autonomes en aliments.
But we're pretty much self-sufficient in France for our feed, though obviously we need fuel and fertilizers that are having a major negative impact on our farm revenue.
Avec toutes les problématiques de matières premières, de métaux, etc.
Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the supply of raw materials.
Qui est absolument considérable.
The volatility. We have extreme volatility in gas prices and supply, but this is really due to and because of the war in Ukraine.
Quand vous voyez qu'en 2 semaines, ça passe de $200.
So in 2 weeks, it's gone from $200. So equivalent to the megawatt hour. So it's gone from 20 US to 100 US in the space of 2 weeks. It's obviously very worrying. Then obviously we have various forecasts provided by the Food Direction, General Direction in Brussels.
Pour le pétrole,
so we see obviously the effect of Brent crude oil and gas prices.
Personne n'y voit clair. Faut être clair. Aujourd'hui, celui qui peut me dire ce que sera le prix du
Today, whoever can tell me what the price of Brent will be in a month, well done.
Si je le savais,
if I knew,
je deviendrais richissime.
I would be extremely rich.
Donc, alors tous ces prévisions-là, quand même.
So all these forecasts, well, take them with a pinch of salt.
Allez rester très élevé. Très longtemps.
But we expect them to remain high, and for some time. It will perhaps might reduce a bit, but who knows? Then we have various different strategies. For example, China's zero COVID strategy has impacted everybody. And as you can see on the slide, you have the consequences of Omicron on the economy, with vessels on standby at the end of April. Then we look again at the increasingly dominant weight of Asian ports. The main trade exporting and importing centers: Shanghai, Singapore, Busan, Shenzhen, Canton, Qingdao.
Statista, et dans les 10 premiers ports mondiaux,
as you can see, the top 10 ports are all in Asia, apart from Rotterdam at the very bottom. Just number 10, Rotterdam.
Et donc évidemment, quand il y a un événement
so when there's something like lockdown from COVID, and now China's zero COVID strategy, it's completely brought to a standstill world trade. But then here too we also have the effect of the war in Russia, war in Ukraine. Various companies, MSC, Maersk and CMA CGM, have suspended their container traffic with Russia since early March. And obviously, the last 2 slides we saw of the bottleneck of boats in China has caused this significant increase in prices. On the other hand, we find first time since 2020 the reconnection of energy with food prices.
Et puis juste après la pandémie. Mais là, ce qu'on voit, c'est qu'évidemment, avec des prix d'énergie durablement élevés, les prix agricoles ne pourront être que durablement élevés. Ce qui fait le lien entre tout ça, c'est
the link between high energy costs and high food costs is now intrinsic.
Les plus anciens d'entre vous, dont je fais partie, ont connu le premier choc pétrolier de 73, et ça permet de relativiser en déflatant quand même la hausse des prix.
We see from the first petrol crisis of 1973, and we can now see from this slide the effect of COVID, the effect of the Ukraine war on the extreme right of this slide, and obviously having a major effect on inflation.
Alors, et comme d'habitude, qu'est-ce qui se passe quand on a inflation?
What happens when we have inflation? We have volatility, and as we can see, oilseed prices are now at an all-time high, never before seen. Have we seen sunflower prices so high?
Ben là, on est très embêté aujourd'hui.
So obviously it's a major concern to us.
Et ce que disait le président du herdbook Charolais tout à l'heure,
as the president of the herdbook Charolais said earlier,
sur les grains, les oléagineux, avec des prix très élevés pendant 3 ou 4 ans.
So we're expecting cereal and oilseed prices to remain high for the next 3 or 4 years.
C'est très compliqué d'investir dans des productions comme l'élevage bovin viande.
Very complicated to invest.
Alors que on est quasiment sûr, malgré aussi la hausse des prix des intrants,
in cattle prices in farms.
Quand on fait des céréales, finalement.
But when you can see that cereal prices have reached these heights.
Mais se dire, et c'est ce que je vais essayer de démontrer, que de toute façon, le marché de la viande bovine et ovine va être porteur durablement.
But as I mentioned before, long-term beef and sheep meat prices will have to and will remain high.
En rouge, vous avez la volaille en jaune et vous avez le porc.
So you can see from this slide you have in yellow poultry, in pink pig, red beef meat and green sheep
meat. On est dans un marché structurellement dans un marché
as you can see,
déficitaire, c'est-à-dire qu'on a une offre qui ne suit pas. Une demande potentielle
there is a demand for sheep meat that we are unable to satisfy.
Et l'Australie n'arrive plus à fournir. Et c'est assez curieux, mais malgré les signaux de prix très élevés, on a du mal finalement à trouver une production qui suive.
We're unable to provide sufficient supply.
Si sur les bovins, il va pas se passer, il n'est pas en train de se passer exactement la même chose. Bon, pour les productions de viande blanche, là,
I think that
ils sont très dépendants là.
Beef will follow the way of sheep meat. In other words, the prices will increase significantly. As you can see, as from May 2016, sheep meat prices have increased significantly. I'm expecting beef prices to follow that trend.
Mais côté viande rouge, je pense, enfin mon analyse, c'est qu'on est parti dans une période.
My analysis is that red meat will be, in the long term, a significant shortage
à la production, vous les connaissez en Europe. En tout cas, les Européens parmi nous, ils ont beaucoup augmenté.
So farmer prices has been increased, a significant increase has continued and continues in 2022. As you can see, in Australia,
on n'avait jamais vu ça.
Prices we've never before seen.
Mais vous allez en Argentine.
In Argentina, in Australia, main exporter, Australia.
Le problème, c'est qu'ils exportent 20% de leur production et le reste, théoriquement, c'est destiné à leur population.
Argentina, though an exporter, it's only 1% of their total production.
C'est-à-dire que quand il n'y a plus assez
Australia, on the other hand, is a significant exporter.
Pour nourrir le peuple
never before seen prices.
Assez mal pour le gouvernement en place. Donc ils ont mis y compris des freins à l'export, comme ça a été Donc des prix qui ont flambé. Alors je vous dis pas que les prix vont rester à ces niveaux-là.
I'm not saying though that I think prices remain at that high.
Quand on regarde la viande bovine, la production de viande bovine dans le monde, elle n'augmente plus depuis 3 ans.
When we see world production, it's only rising modestly over the last 3 or 4 years. It hasn't significantly increased.
Et donc aux événements
but demand has.
Qui ont affecté les grandes zones de production les unes après les autres. L'Australie, les sécheresses monstrueuses. Il y a
Australia that had a significant drought.
Je ne vais pas vous faire. L'Uruguay, le Paraguay et le sud du Brésil l'an passé.
South of Brazil were impacted last year. There's not 1 year when there's a major climatic impact on the production of
en provenance du Brésil l'année dernière. Elles ont baissé en provenance d'Argentine pour aussi des histoires de politique interne. Elles ont baissé en provenance d'Australie parce qu'après 3 années de très graves sécheresses, les Australiens ont eu un climat un peu meilleur, ils se sont mis à recapitaliser, donc ça veut dire moins de production dans un premier temps.
The Australians, after 3 years of significant drought, have been able to reinvest as the climate has picked up a little. We've moved from a drought regime to a more normal weather regime in Australia. We see global warming has accelerated in the northern hemisphere and continues to accelerate.
De mer qui font tampon quand même dans ce réchauffement climatique que dans l'hémisphère sud, et évidemment ça provoque une multiplication des aléas climatiques dont il va falloir.
And obviously, because of this, it encourages more climate damage hurricanes,
prennent ça en compte pour diminuer un peu le chargement
and other
de leurs hectares.
climatic effects, hailstones,
De forage, pardon.
strong
Et puis ça n'affecte pas du tout de la même façon
deluges,
selon
strong heavy
les
rain.
zones. Je vous laisserai regarder ça. Là où
Though not all regions are affected in the same way, as we can see from this
et donc il y a des zones qui sont beaucoup plus susceptibles de subir des
slide of the planet.
Bon, et puis quelquefois on ne fait rien pour arranger les choses. Hein. La politique de Bolsonaro avec
So,
sa
but sometimes we
déforestation
don't do anything to
en Amazonie
encourage
en
things.
particulier,
Unfortunately, as we can see in Brazil, the impact of Bolsonaro, where unfortunately continues to cut wood, cut trees, cut the Amazon forest.
ça pose le problème de la traçabilité de la viande bovine qui provient du Brésil. Il n'y a aucune traçabilité. Pour
There is no
C'est-à-dire qu'ils vont vous
traceability
dire que cette viande n'est pas déforestante.
of
En
meat
fait, les
from
broutards,
Brazil.
ils viennent du front pionnier sur
We don't know
le développement
if
de l'élevage allaitant.
beef production in Brazil's beef production comes from areas that of significant deforestation.
Avec l'Uruguay, qui est un petit pays certes, mais qui contrôle très bien son élevage, autant avec le Brésil, c'est carrément pas possible.
Compared to Uruguay, where traceability is
Alors, là où
exceptionally
l'Europe,
good,
elle n'a pas été là, on l'a vu.
look at
Alors,
Brazil, where there's
des importations
barely any
freinées
traceability.
par une faible hausse de l'offre, c'est le graphique.
And here on this slide, we have the increase in supply by the main exporters is less than the growth in demand of the main importers. As a result, the market is under pressure.
Plus du tiers des importations mondiales de viande bovine. Donc tout passe par la Chine, hein, je vous parlais tout à l'heure.
So once again, everything goes through China, as we
Aussi,
mentioned earlier.
On a les États-Unis qui sont à la fois exportateurs et
So,
importateurs, notamment
the US,
importateurs
who are
de
both
matières premières pour faire
exporters
du burger.
and importers,
Il y a les pays riches d'Asie, hein, comme
other
le Japon, la
rich
Corée du
Asian
Sud.
countries,
Et il y a même un pays
Japan,
comme l'Égypte
South Korea.
qui, j'ai vu quelqu'un de l'ambassade d'Égypte tout à l'heure, qui a
Egypt
importé davantage
has
en
imported
2021
more
qu'en
in
2020.
2021
Donc, on a une
compared to
poignée
2020.
d'exportateurs face à un nombre de plus en plus grand d'importateurs
So
et des
there are
importateurs qui potentiellement
more
pourraient
importers,
importer davantage.
but as we saw from a previous slide, with vessels that are now blockaded in China because of the zero COVID strategy implemented by the Chinese government, once more the demand is not being satisfied. This picture now, slide now, is a comparison between the beef export trade in 2021 and the one following is the beef export trade in 2016. You can see from these two slides the difference in trade. See how the major impact of exports into Asia in 2021 compared to 2016. The livestock market trade has dropped mainly due to the drop in supply, the increase in prices, and certain issues in Lebanon and Turkey.
La Turquie aussi est en crise économique et a beaucoup moins de potentiel de
far less potential in Turkey.
Les États-Unis, il ne faut jamais l'oublier, sont les principaux importateurs de bovins vivants, essentiellement de leurs deux
The
voisins.
US is US and Canada, the main importers of livestock for finishing. Indonesia
d'Australie principalement, a beaucoup diminué.
Has reduced significantly its imports, mainly from Australia.
Quelques pays qui ont plutôt un peu augmenté, comme Israël.
Israel has increased marginally its imports.
Alors, les perspectives
Egypt
de production pour 2022, si on se fie à l'USDA et la FAO, le Brésil devrait reprendre des exports.
The global production forecast for 2022, provided by USDA,
impressionnant
expecting Australia to improve.
À la demande potentielle. Les prix de la viande exportée ont suivi les prix payés aux éleveurs. J'insiste pas, vous regarderez ça tranquillement. Pour l'Union européenne, on a plutôt un cheptel en baisse sur le long terme.
As you can see, over the long term, the EU, 27 members, is heading towards a long-term drop in herd numbers.
En Allemagne, on l'a vu, en Irlande, on l'a vu, etc.
Seen in Ireland, we've seen in Germany, reduction in the national herds in those countries.
En France en particulier, avec son application sur les aides couplées, ne va pas arranger les choses. Je vois que vous patientez.
Coupled premiums are not going to help things either.
Ok, mais ça va le faire.
I'm going to finish off.
En tout cas, les prévisions qu'on
So
fait
forecasts,
la Commission européenne
EU forecasts,
nous amènent plutôt à une diminution de la production
is more towards a tendency of a drop in production of 6% over 15 years.
Notamment parce que l'Irlande était un des grands exportateurs.
And we can see here on this slide that further growth in exports to Asia, despite the reduced Irish exports to China.
Ce qui explique cette petite diminution des exportations.
And the drop in exports to the UK is due to the drop in production in Ireland.
Elles ont beaucoup baissé parce que ces importations, c'est de la viande qui va principalement en restauration. Évidemment, en période de confinement, il n'y a plus de restauration.
And a drop in imports, especially in the first half of the year because the restaurants were closed, and the second half of the year due to drop in supply on the world market.
En Amérique latine, puisque c'est l'essentiel de ce qu'on importe. Désormais, le Royaume-Uni est dans les pays tiers, hein, donc hors UE27, c'est pour ça qu'on le met aussi.
We put UK here, it's obviously no longer part of the EU.
Ont repris après la période.
On the other hand, there's been a resumption in beef trade between EU member states in 2021.
De France aussi, notamment, mais la France a des pays,
Ireland,
a des clients
from France,
que sont l'Italie, l'Allemagne, la Grèce, et est en train de diversifier ses clients. L'Allemagne diminue ses exportations très nettement. Les Allemands ont beaucoup diminué leur cheptel et manquent
significantly reduced their herd numbers.
Les Pays-Bas, eux,
Holland,
les exportations des Pays-Bas, mais sachant que les Pays-Bas sont des réexportateurs
re-export products that they have already imported.
L'Espagne avait plutôt augmenté.
Spain had increased its production, its exports, but as they're dependent on imports of cereals and sunflower, and obviously heavily impacted by the high grain and oilseed prices. And Poland that had significantly increased its exports. It's now more or less stable. So, a context of further shortage will lead to an increase in prices that will partly offset the increase in production costs for farmers. Poland was, in red, was traditionally one of the cheapest countries for production of meat, is now higher than France. Though prices are beginning to stabilize in certain EU countries.
Je ne sais pas si vous avez vu passer le plan national de réduction des émissions d'azote en particulier, mais de particules fines en général. S'il passe, il va jusqu'au bout, ça voudra dire 30% de cheptel, tout cheptel confondu, bovin, ovin, caprin, volaille, surtout et porc, et de 30% à l'horizon 2030. Alors, deux solutions, hein, soit ils font autre chose, soit ils prennent l'argent, parce que ça va être payé par le gouvernement, et ils viennent investir ailleurs.
Farmers.
En France, ça pourra peut-être faire reprendre quelques fermes. Et je voulais finir par là, c'est le taux d'inflation.
And here in this last slide, food inflation in France is one of the lowest in OECD countries. Total inflation I've shown in the circles.
Et vous voyez que l'inflation alimentaire aux États-Unis au mois de mai glissant mai 2021 par rapport à mai 2022, c'est plus 12% du prix de l'alimentation. En Europe, c'est moindre, mais c'est devant où? En Pologne, c'est
12% food
Espagne,
inflation,
on est pratiquement à 11% d'inflation alimentaire. Au Royaume-Uni, on
far
est à 5%.
higher than
En
overall
Allemagne,
inflation.
on est à 8%. En France, c'est un peu plus limité.
So
Alors, il y
in
a
France,
d'autres
we
explications.
are
Peut-être aussi parce qu'on est avec une
less impacted by inflation.
et donc est moins impacté finalement par les matières premières.
We are less impacted by raw materials, straight.
C'est les œufs, c'est
It's
les volailles
eggs.
premier prix. Les produits de qualité augmentent un peu moins vite. C'est un premier élément d'explication. Le deuxième élément que je voulais porter à vos débats, c'est peut-être aussi parce qu'on a un problème de transmission des prix dans la filière.
We're unable perhaps to pass on our production costs onto the consumer. And maybe this has an impact on the fact that our inflation in France is less than in other countries. So firstly, thank you very much, Philippe CHOTTEAU, for your overview of the global beef market. So Jacques, conclusion and any questions? Do you have any questions that you want to ask the team present today?
Si vous aviez un souhait pour ce sommet, cet événement incontournable.
Jacques, what do you want to add?
On en a plusieurs.
We have several wishes, obviously.
Non, je ne vais pas rentrer dans le détail. On a
I'm not going into details.
notamment de logistique.
I'm not going to talk about logistics and material, straits.
Comme on est optimiste, on parle de.
We're optimistic. We talk about what we have.
C'est vrai que les arbres ne vont pas jusqu'au ciel, mais quand on regarde la croissance, vous avez parlé des 30 ans l'année dernière,
when we see growth,
du développement que l'on a fait, du rayonnement que l'on a et des perspectives.
Where we stretch out to, the perspectives, forecasts that we have.
Bon, mais je pense qu'effectivement, le sommet a encore toute sa place sur la durabilité.
Very positive and confident that the summit has its place, especially as a sustainable livestock show.
Parce que c'est les éleveurs d'abord.
So it's mainly farmers first and foremost.
Institutionnel que représente le sommet. Mais on va peut-être répondre aux questions et puis après, effectivement, on conclura en remerciant.
So we're going to answer a few questions if there are any, and then I will conclude this press conference.
Quasi conclusif.
So,
avant bien sûr vos questions. Alors nous avons déjà des questions en ligne, mais peut-être.
We have a few online questions. Any questions from the floor?
Vous en avez pour démarrer, non pas encore. Eh bien, c'est pratique finalement la visio parce que ça nous donne un tour de chauffe comme ça. Alors, nous avons effectivement une question. Dans quelle mesure
what measure
dans quelle mesure développement durable et élevage bovin sont-ils compatibles? Concurrence à l'alimentation humaine.
So, sustainable farming, in what measure is it compatible with
il y a des stratégies de développement, l'agrivoltaïsme, de la méthanisation,
food policies
qui vont se soustraire à l'agriculture et à l'élevage. Donc effectivement, il va y avoir des nouveaux équilibres qui vont se faire. Il ne faut pas non plus ignorer, nous sommes producteurs de la viande de qualité.
We're actors, we're producers of quality food, quality meat.
Mais aussi sur la viande de synthèse.
Donc, we also see a growth in the vegan market. We also see synthetic, chemically produced meat.
Philippe a parlé du premier choc pétrolier, ainsi de suite. Donc,
Philippe spoke about the first oil crisis.
Dans cette nouvelle réorganisation,
but as far as our new organisation is concerned, we're looking to improve the premium quality, the durability of livestock. We spoke about gastronomy. We had a question earlier. We're not concerned. There's a place for everybody, and we are more confident than ever that we're able to answer the market demand. So talking about the difference between food for cattle and food for population, feed the population.
Sont très peu consommateurs de protéines qui pourraient être consommées directement par les humains. Très peu.
So livestock
85% d'après des études qu'on a faites, ce qu'on donne à manger aux animaux ne serait pas consommable par l'homme.
85% of the proteins that we give to livestock as feed cannot be consumed by a human, such as the cake can't be consumed by a human.
Pas grand monde a priori qui se jetterait dessus, ou alors ça va faire des aliments ultra transformés. Globalement, l'alimentation des bovins, aujourd'hui, elle est très peu concurrente de l'alimentation humaine directe.
Food for livestock is not a competitor for food for the human population. Cattle and sheep are ruminants, different digestion system to humans.
Parmi vous peut-être des questions?
Any questions from the floor?
Plus généralement sur notre nouvelle édition, 31e édition du Sommet de l'Élevage.
Anything about this 31st edition of the Sommet de l'Élevage? If not,
alors le temps qu'on vous amène le micro, je pose du coup cette question que nous venons
de voir. Online question.
Peut-on faire des parallèles entre le terroir auvergnat et son climat et celui de la Mongolie?
Can we draw parallel lines between Massif Central and the Mongolia as far as climate is concerned and landmass? Yes, I think we can.
La région d'Auvergne était très similaire.
So the Auvergne region is very similar to a large part of the farmland in Mongolia.
D'Auvergne et de la Mongolie. Peut-être un peu aussi vous présenter des petites vidéos pour vous faire montrer.
I can perhaps be able to show you the video, the film, the small film. We'll see if there are any more questions. We'll see. Maybe. A question.
Pour Madame l'ambassadrice.
A question for the ambassador.
L'envie de la Mongolie d'avoir un élevage plus performant.
You spoke about wanting to improve the productivity of your of your herd. What are your needs? Genetics or what?
Aujourd'hui, avec 67 millions d'animaux de tête,
with 67 million head,
nous mettons une politique de baisser dans notre stratégie nationale de la reproduction animale. C'est vraiment indiqué par chaque espèce d'animaux.
Policy is to improve the quality. What do we need to do to improve the productivity? We perceive it to be introducing better genetics. Or do we need to be introducing new breeds into different regions? Obviously, need a good management of our grassland.
So
our reproduction strategy, is to improve our genetics, find breeds that will optimize areas of our country where our local breeds are unable to optimize the grassland.
Des races. Donc nous avons construit un parc national, un complexe.
We have built a complex 300 kilometers of Ulaanbaatar.
Un complexe national de la génétique, des génétiques.
Of genetics complex, handling the genetics and improving genetics of our livestock.
Sur leur rendement, sur leur croissement.
As far as
déjà avec nos
looking to improve yield, looking to improve growth.
Et les sociétés distribuent aux autres fermes, aux autres éleveurs, les jeunes.
And providing information for young farmers, a structure that's able to assist farmers and also the younger farmers as a way of